This episode is brought to you by Bowhunters Domain. These are the arrows that I use, and to be honest, guys, I cannot fault them. I've been using them pretty much since the start. I went through a few different brands and literally just ripped those arrows to shreds. And pretty much when I started buying the Bowhunters Domain shafts, what I saw was an extreme difference in the strength and quality of the actual arrow. And when I started playing around with the inserts and talking to Shane more about, hey, which is the best way to go, half certs, inserts, what's the best kind of play out for what I'm hunting, he was really insightful and gave me all the information that I needed. So not only is it a strong quality, really good brand that like a really good arrow that does incredibly well, Shane, who's running the ship, is also really insightful and can give you all of the insights that you need in regards to the game that you're hunting or the targets that you're shooting, and how or which weights you should be going for. So I really think that it's a great brand, and something that I thoroughly think just puts like a lot of confidence in me as a bow hunter when I go out. I know that my arrows have the complete ability to do exactly what I need them to do. So you guys can get Shane's giving you guys 10% off of the whole shop, not just the arrows, but everything within his shop. With the code BHD10. That's in capitals, BHD, and the numbers 10. BHD10, you can go to bowhuntersdomain.com.au. It's getting cold here in the great down under, but luckily for you, you can now take coffee with you out into those cold hills using the code BOWHUNTER at Dog and Gun Coffee. These guys do an incredible mix of blends. My two favorites, and the one that I'm rolling with, so my two favorites are the Samba blend and the Full Send blend. And the Full Send blend is what I'm taking with me on my next hunt into the cold hills of Coolah, which is kind of inland, probably is pretty much mid New South Wales. So it's going to be freezing. It's going to be fresh, going there for the 22nd of June. So I know things are going to be, it's pretty much right in the midst of this cold spring that we're having. But I go in with confidence knowing that I've got warm coffee to get me through my days. What I'm taking is the parachutes. So all you do is you just like tear open the individual. They use a single serve. So you have your little single serve. You can open it up, rip that open, rip off the top of it, pull it over my cup, and then just pour my hot water straight over the top. And I will have coffee up in the mountains, which is something I'm really looking forward to whilst we're kind of sitting around and stalking for the day. So you guys can actually get, like I said, $10 off of your next order with the code BOWHUNTER. And by doing that, you're supporting not only the podcast, but you're also supporting a great brand that is brought to you by really great people. So use that code. It's all in capitals, BOWHUNTER, and you'll get some incredible coffee. And if you're not a coffee drinker, they also do hot chocolate, which is incredible as well. So I said incredible quite a lot, so it must be quite the thing. But yeah, BOWHUNTER is the code. It's caps locks. Sorry, yeah, all caps locks, all capitals. In BOWHUNTER is that code for $10 off your next order.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands, searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bow hunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bow hunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bow hunting.
Team, thanks again for tuning on in to Becoming a Bow Hunter. I'm excited to share this one with you, joined by James Doumtsis. James is a good friend, and he's been on the podcast many times. You probably heard him co-host the podcast even once before. And so we've got a good relationship. We have a good joke and have a good laugh throughout the whole thing. But this dude literally spends so much time in the bush and has so many insights for all of us to learn from. And this talk in particular is really interesting because it's not only talking about hunting within Australia, but talking about hunting abroad, which I know we have done with him before, but I just think there's so many cool little insights into what the world has to offer when it comes to bow hunting. I think often we can really think and relate to just ourselves and think about our own grounds that we hunt, and that's it. But realistically, there is a big bad world out there for us to get out and get involved with. But within saying that, we also just talk about Australian hunting as well. So there's so much out there. And realistically, we have so much opportunity just in our own country. For those who are joining us from Australia, we have so much opportunity in New Zealand. But then realistically, there's so much opportunity all over the world. In a flight that's as close as 2 hours compared to a flight that's as close as 27 hours or 32 hours or whatever it took James and Nick to get overseas. So, some really cool stories to be heard, and I hope you enjoy it all.
Welcome back, Matt.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Becoming a Bowhunter. Sitting down with the co-host, self-proclaimed co-host, James Doumtsis. Welcome back, mate.
Thank you very much. It's great being back.
It's been a few weeks since we talked last time. I've missed you, but I'm glad you're back.
Yeah, it's been good. No, every time I feel like we have like a 20-minute catch up every time we actually podcast. It's like, oh, what's been happening in your life? Oh, what's been happening in your life? And we try and like keep in touch with Instagram and everything like that, but it's never enough.
Oh, it's the same way with everyone, right? Like life just gets busy and it's hard to do and keep up with everyone, let alone yourself. So, dude, you've had a lot going on though. You guys have just released Relentless, part 1, which has been incredible. And I think realistically, you did such a good job in open looping everyone. And so what I mean by an open loop is the fact that it's a two-part episode where you have to watch the first one to be able to watch the second one. And when you watch the first one, it leaves you dangling. You've left the carrot right there for everyone to be like, oh, I just need to see the second one, which I think is absolutely incredible. It's something that people do in marketing. It's something that people do in movies. It's something that people do in stories, and you guys have nailed it. So congratulations on that, firstly, for dropping it, but also for doing a good open loop.
Thank you very much. No, well, that was the thing. Aiden and I just decided, well, firstly, the video is about 35 minutes long in like a 1-part sort of series. And for a lot of people nowadays, like 35 minutes sitting down watching a YouTube video is a bit long, but also I think it breaks up that storyline really well. And it's a multiple day hunt. We're really trying to highlight in that film, I guess, Nick's passion for like mountain boar hunting. Like he's obsessed, like he's an addict really. Like it's like when you ask people, oh, what would be the one thing that you could hunt? It's just like, it's not even a question for Nick, because like Nick is so passionate about mountain boars. Like he'll see a fallow buck. He pretty much said this year when we were filming him, he's like, this is the 3 weeks where I'll ignore boars. Well, not ignore them, but like if there's a buck croaking, at least I'll like give it precedence. Sorry. Whereas normally like he'll see fallow deer across the ridge and there'll be a boar and he's like, no, I'm going for the pig. Like he's just absolutely infatuated with them and figuring them out. And so, yeah, it made for like an awesome film just because we try to include a lot of audios just to sort of really highlight, like he's obviously very intelligent and has a lot of knowledge surrounding them just because he spends so much time out in the field hunting and whatnot, and has for quite a while. So, he's quite intelligent, or, he does have a lot of knowledge in the field. And so we try and get that across as well and just sort of make it a bit more, not to say like it's very cinematic too, but also just try and make sure that people take away a few lessons and learn a few things as well. So, yeah.
So with this new film from Twin Elements, we're talking about 35 minutes is what you said it came to once you guys have edited it. How long was the actual process? So let's talk about, you guys live up north. This is down near Newcastle where you guys are going. So there's flights, there's driving, there's the days spent there, and then the hours spent afterwards actually editing it. I know, for instance, for me, for a podcast, every hour that I do is usually like another half hour at least of editing and stuff that I have to do. And that's without me actually touching it, really. It's like just putting the little parts on, the little snippets, the sound snippets that everyone hears. But it's the behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't really recognize. So when it comes to a film that's 35 minutes long, where you're literally changing like every, I don't know, some parts every second, some parts are every 3, and some parts are every 8 seconds. In that situation, if you were to put a rough scope on how much time you put into it yourself and then how much time Aiden put into it as well, what would your estimate be?
It's disgusting. So I'm actually about to confess something here. So with Relentless, Relentless is Aiden's baby in the sense of he probably did, honestly, 95% of the work. So Aiden drove down from Townsville, went and filmed Nick it ended up being 4 days of filming, in which, it was 3.5 days. I left them last morning. So ended up being a 3-day film. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at he drove down straight actually, because Nick,
oh my God,
I'm going to throw Nick under the bus here. Nick said, meet me in the local town in the Hunter Valley at this time. And anyway, so Aiden literally drove, it was 20 hours straight to where that was, got there, drove all through the night, pulled up at the bakery there, and we make jokes about it all the time because it's the best bakery around. And Aiden sat there and ate like 5 pies. And then he called Nick after an hour and a half, and Nick was still in Newcastle at the warehouse. So Aiden ended up driving to Newcastle, getting Nick and helping Nick with orders, and then going back.
No way.
So if Nick says he's going to be somewhere, he's not going to be somewhere. But yeah, so it ended up, so just say realistically a week in driving, filming,
Just
and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then, so that was in June 2020. So it's now it's really almost June 2022.
Yeah.
The process, because Aiden's obviously been at university, the process has been dragged out a bit. But I mean, it's the consensus. I mean, we speak to Brad and Jerry at Bowhunt Down Under a fair bit, and like realistically for, I don't know, like sort of each, maybe each like minute is maybe like in the end grand scheme of things, like half a day to a day. So like, I reckon a 35-minute film, it depends like how, I don't know, it sort of gets really technical. Like you can, I don't know, I look at some of the early films that we had up on our YouTube and stuff, and now I reckon I could smash one of them together in like 20 minutes. Like, because it's obviously like big clip to clip, like you're not really finding, like you're not doing sound effects, you're not doing audio design, you're not doing, music, you're not doing like all like color grading, all that stuff. You're just whacking together like a heap of footage and then throw it out there. And like most people love it. I guess it's sort of just a different direction that we've sort of taken. But to say probably like we've got a fair few new videos coming out, and I reckon once you sort of, so to put it in perspective, I just finished a film where Aiden shot 2 boars that'll be out featuring later this year, but about a 15-minute film, really action-packed, and sort of chronological order of the film was like really easy because it was like just like a morning and afternoon hunt and then a morning hunt, so it was like over a weekend. And I mean that probably only took me about 7 or 8, like a week to sort of do. But it's because there also wasn't a lot of footage, whereas like I went up to the Cape and filmed 2 films at the end of last year, and I was looking the other day because I was about to start editing one of them, and just the timeline alone in footage is 18 hours long. So it's like, okay, well, there's instantly 18 hours of me sitting there. That's just like to look at the footage. This was like, I filmed this about 6-7 months ago. Oh no, maybe 7-8 months ago now. So it's like, there's 18 hours that gets cut down into like 2, and then, gets probably cut down into like a 30-minute long film or like a 1 or 2 part film. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, it's sort of our passion project at the moment where a lot of people, when we actually say about it, get pretty surprised, but we pretty much get no funding at the moment through Twin Elements. Like it's just Aiden and I, our passions, I guess, but the plan is that definitely in the next 6 months, like a lot of our sponsorship will hopefully become paid, or be doing at least like media stuff for those companies and I mean other companies out there if they want to jump on and because it takes like, as you've sort of heard in the last 3 minutes of me rambling, like it just takes up an excessive amount of time. And I mean my job allows me to have a lot of time off, and I genuinely do love it. But at some stage, it has to sort of bring home the bacon a bit.
Well, exactly right. I mean, we were talking about just before we even started recording about not only the quality that you guys are putting out, but the content you're actually doing is such good content for these outdoor companies, essentially. And it's something that if in any other business in the world, they'd be paying 3, 5, 10K for the length of the videos you're doing, probably a lot more, to be honest. But like I've got marketing buddies that literally charge 10 grand for a 10-minute video sales letter, essentially, like just getting like I don't know, they're very basic. It's nothing like what you guys are doing. It's a crazy difference.
Yeah.
And my brother works in film and television, and the amount of money that is put into film in general, and like he's worked on sets worth hundreds of millions of dollars, not just a couple grand here and there or whatever it is, or not just free for the amount of hours you guys are doing. So I think at the same time, obviously it has been a passion project, but it is cool, and I think it's very very well deserved that you guys start to make a bit more from it, and that it does become more than just a passion project. Because unfortunately, if it doesn't, eventually the candle does burn out, right? Like otherwise, if you just keep getting taken advantage of, at one point you go, you know what, for what? Like, what are we actually doing it for?
And that's the thing. Like, I mean, for me, I realize like partially the reason why I've done it, and Aiden and I started Twin Elements, is like we love doing the media stuff, but it's like I want to spend 3 to 6 months of my year in the bush, and I'm still a fair way away from having kids and starting a young family and all the rest of that, but I can't foreseeably manage 3 to 6 months in a year if it's not making me money. So I was like, why would I not? I'd be silly to not try and turn my hobby and my passions into a business. And that's sort of how, I guess, partly where Twin Elements came into it. And so, yeah, I mean, the next step is just sort of actually getting it to the point that, we are managing media content for a lot of companies, which it's not really it shouldn't be a massive sort of switch really, because
no, definitely not.
We've got a massive following and also sponsorship currently. So it's just, I guess turning it.
Well, we're saying just before, you got 23 odd thousand followers just on Instagram, let alone your actual YouTube page. And then we didn't actually include Spotted Safaris in that either, in that count. So what does that have on it?
Oh, something like 2,000 or something like that.
It's still a fair chunk of people. So, I mean, realistically, you've got a lot of reach in what you're doing. And so I know people that are charging a lot just for putting posts up on their Instagram page for 10,000 people, not 23,000.
Oh,
so, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that's across like Aiden and I, and then Twin Elements, we've got the 23,000. Like, but I think the biggest thing for us is, like, I know, like, it was sort of a shock to me talking to a couple of mates recently, where I'd actually unknowingly, like, they were like, oh, hey bro, can you send me some clips of a red deer roaring, or like some chital deer or whatever, or some pigs fighting or whatever. And so I'd send them all these clips, and then they had relations with outdoor companies and stuff where they were charging them like $3,000 for a couple of photos and a short clip.
They were doing that to you guys.
Yeah.
Did you get a cut? That's ridiculous.
No, well, that's what I didn't even realize, like, a couple of free hats and whatever, but, and then, so yeah, they'd go out and film like an outdoor day sort of thing, and then use all of our live footage, and then, they'd get all the money. And I think that's the big thing for us. Like, we've sort of just been out there. We've got a pretty good reputation here in Australia and abroad, I guess, as well. But just trying to, because the big thing with us as well is like consistency in our work. So because we've been working, so like Aiden's still at university, he's about to finish at the end of this year, which will help. But for me, I've sort of found a job where I can work, month on or month off or whatever it is. And so I've been trying to like edit flat stick. So we've got a heap of content that's like ready to go. So the biggest thing has been like just getting that content out, because if it's not your work, like, if you're not getting paid for it, I can't prioritize it over actually going and making money so I can eat. Whereas like, it's like in my spare time, I go and edit while other people go and like watch the footy on the weekend. Like, and that's how it's been for a couple of years now. So I guess, like we sort of said, it's going to be a transition, like turning that sort of pet hobby into an actual business where we're making money. And then from that, like bigger projects and bigger jobs and more consistency comes from it. So I'm looking for it's going to be great. Like, especially the next sort of 12 months. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah,
I was talking to Aiden about just the amount of like little like reels and snippets you guys are putting out now, and how viral that content can actually be. In particular, the quality of the stuff you're putting out, like the little snippets you guys have been putting out of just like the chital deer, like there's the infamous one of the chiddle deer shaking the water off, and that is just so cool. And that's going to attract not only your bow hunters, but your outdoorsmen, and then the people who have interest in animals. Like it really is such a broad reach, and it makes people go, oh, well, where's this coming from? And that sort of content, like you're literally talking about stuff that used to be on National Geographic style documentaries that is now just on Instagram every day from dudes like yourself who are out filming and doing content like that. So I think what you guys are onto is so special, and it's really capturing such a cool thing. And yeah, it's just cool to see. It's cool to see it unfold.
Yeah, no, I think, like that's the biggest thing for us. We're like hitting, even with like spearfishing and fishing and stuff, we're hitting a lot of markets in terms of like media. Like we've got, just the other day, we picked up like a trial camera company that wants to come and get us to make a feature film and a heap of media with them. And then, like a fishing company also came, and Aiden just went up and filmed some fishing stuff for them. So it's like, it's definitely like we've got our fingers in a lot of pies. It's just sort of consolidating it, I guess. Definitely excited for what's to come.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So what is to come? I mean, we were talking about before, or you might have mentioned it before. You've got a few different cooking episodes that are coming up, or cooking.
Snips. So as soon as Relentless, so we've got the second part 2 dropping next week, which is I think the 1st of June off the top of my head. So as soon as that drops, either the week or the week after that, there's we're starting a spin-off series called Hungry Hunter, and that's based essentially off your general outdoorsman who really wants or is passionate about wild game and wild cooking in the form of like everything from seafood to wild game essentially, and cooking it in like the best way possible. So it does sort of feature some of the hunt or like the harvesting, hunter-gatherer, cook sort of lifestyle in episodes. But yeah, like a lot of it is just purely the cooking base. And that's obviously like our feature films will start having a lot more cooking and stuff in them too, just because a lot of people seem to really love that sort of sequence of like watching the hunt or watching you go out and get the food. And then actually processing it and then completing the process by cooking it. Whereas this is sort of more directed at actual recipes that we want every day. Because like it's sort of sad, realistically, when people like, I don't know, like they go fishing, for example, they're only targeting the best fish. Like, they want like coral trout, or they want like down south, like flatheads, or they want like, specific thing. And then even with like hunting, like they don't want dirty ribs or manky front legs or whatever, or neck meat or whatever. Like they just want backstrap and maybe the back legs for the dogs, or like mince and stuff. Whereas we really, like Aiden and I are super passionate. Like I don't know if we're filming this, but there's like a chest freezer literally behind me right now. It's just like chock-a-block full of wild game and fish. That's like pretty much, that's our like little honey hole. That's like where we live off. So we're really thankful that Dad has been pretty much cooking wild game for us our whole lives, and we've definitely taken it to another level. And so Hungry Hunter is sort of sharing that lifestyle and that passion for like obviously being European background, like we love cooking, love food. So sharing that passion for food and using wild game specifically with you guys to expand, the concept and like recipes that you guys may have other than like just, seared backstrap with some roast veg, or like, just crumb fish to like different cuts and how you can actually utilize it, or different sauces, and sort of expand it from there. So we've got 10 eps that are dropping pretty much straight away after the Relentless. And then the plan is, I haven't consolidated this with Aiden, so it's maybe hit and miss, but from the videos that we've got ready, there's 2 chiddle films, and then that bore film or double bore film that I was talking to you about. So they'll come pretty much straight after that. And then I'm thinking that we'll drop another 10 cooking eps, which will pretty much see us through the year. And then we've got, we've got 2, 3, the Argentina with Nick rut film, another film with Nick for the rut for fallow, and then another one 2 for fallow, and then 2 more Cape films. And all of them are like really long films.
What about your chiddle deer? Did you guys film that?
So the 2 chiddle films.
Oh, gotcha. They're coming at the end of this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're coming at the end of this year. They're both me hunting and Aiden filming, and then whereas with the 2 Cape ones and the Argentina one, I filmed Nick in Argentina, and then I filmed the boys up at Mitchell Cape York Adventures, Mitch Warren, and then Noddy Scotty, who actually owns it. So they had, with COVID, like they were just had a bit of downtime between clients. And so the first week when Scott was guiding, I went up and filmed Mitch. Well, it wasn't a full week, it was a couple of days really. And then they sort of switched halfway, and then I got to film Scott sort of for the last day and the first day when the next group of clients came up. So I was really sort of fortunate that I could go up there and do that. They've got like a really good operation up there. And like, I think I hadn't hunted the Cape. So going up there and like seeing just like that many pigs of that quality, and then like just scrubbles, and I don't know, it's just a cool place. Like
I'm excited to go up there one day.
It's just a wild place. And even just, I think just like the camp vibes, just like chilling out. So it's very similar to like the NT. Aiden and I went over and hunted with Big Country and hunted buff there a couple of years ago. And yeah, like it's just like real laid back, like great hunting, like action packed, heap of game. And it's not that like, to be honest, when I hunt the rut, I don't know whether it's Nick and I left. I don't know if you want to dive into Argentina now, but
I was going to say it's next on the list anyway. So
yeah, so Nick and I left. So Nick Morton, he called me. Where was I? I was with my girlfriend. I'm trying to think where it was. I was down. Okay, there we go. So in January of this year, 2022, I was down meeting my girlfriend's parents for the first time, and Nick called me, and I'd prioritized not being on my phone because I'm quite bad for being on my phone. And I'm like, righto, I'll be good this weekend. So me and the in-laws, Nick calls me, right, I'll make this quick. And he's like, do you want to come to Argentina and go hunting with me in the rut, which is like 2 months away? And I'm about to leak a little confession here that I haven't told my girlfriend yet. But the dates that he gave me were over my girlfriend's birthday. And I was like, sure. But I said to him, I'd rather come and film it, because obviously after hunting in Bulgaria, I'm like, I would rather someone capture the amount of, because like it was like, and it's insane. Like you pull up and you stop to like get out to go hunt for the arvo of the morning. And it's like the place we're on is like 50,000 acres, free range, like just reds everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so you pull up and you'll hear like 2 stags, 3 stags roaring like, 500 meters way off in distance. You're like, no, there's not enough deer here. So you like get back in the car and then drive, another 5Ks down the road, get out and okay, I hear like 8 reds roaring. So I'll get out and like go for a hunt here. Like it's just silly. And so I said to Nick, I'm like, I really want to film it so I can share that experience with the people back home, because like it's just on another level. Like it's like, you might think that you've got a good property here for reds in Australia. And like, I've arguably hunted some of the better places for reds in Australia now with the mates that I've got. And I can say like the best days that you have there don't even come to the shittest days that we had in Argentina. Like it's like they don't come to like, you hear more activity at lunch at like 2 p.m. when it's like 30 degrees out and you're like, man, it's so hot, everything should be shut down. And it's like the best day there is still like worse than, I don't know. It's just crazy. That's insane. So he called me and I said, yeah, man. I said, I'm in. I said, just flick me some dates. And anyway, so he flicked me the dates. I broke the news to my girlfriend. Sorry, sweetheart. Made it up to her. Bought her a really good birthday present, as you do, folks. That's how you get out of it. And then, so 20th of March, I drove down to Newcastle, where we're driving out to Sydney, flying out to Sydney. And because I'd been away so much and everything, I'd been guiding for like the 3 weeks leading up to this. And so I said to Nick, I said, what visas do I need? What do I need to sort? And he goes, no, I've looked into it. Everything's all good. So I fly down there, similar thing. I got like 3 hours sleep the night before, woke up, drove down, picked up Nick in Newcastle. We get to the airport. We're meant to be flying out. We got to the airport at, I think we're flying out like 3. We got to the airport at 1. Or no, it was a bit like 12:30, whatever. Go to check in. And they go, have you signed in and got your ESTA? Which is like, so we were going from Sydney to San Fran to Houston to Buenos Aires to, is it La Pampa? I think. I'm stuffing this up here. But anyway, we had a connecting flight in Argentina. Santa Rosa. It was Buenos Aires to Santa Rosa. So we had a heap of connecting flights. And because we were just going through the US, we didn't realize we had to get visas. So Nick goes, I've got a work visa. And I'm like, well, righto. And they're like, normally it takes, like, they're like, we've done this before. You're early. Like, you should be fine. So I'm there smashing out this visa, sweating bullets. Nick goes, like 45 minutes later, Nick goes, I'll go and check in. Because I'm just sitting there, like, waiting for it. And we're like one of maybe half the flight that's done it. And they, I'm like watching people walk up, check in stuff. Anyway, like 5 minutes before checkout closes. So Nick went to go up. His work visa had expired like a week before we were getting on this plane. So Nick then runs over to me. He starts punching in his thing for a visa. Long story short, I ended up getting mine within time. Nick didn't get his. So we got pushed back a day there, which we made up in the end anyway. So yet again, don't rely on Nick. And anyway, so we flew out the next day. It was an absolute shit fight getting to Argentina, like just in terms of like connecting flights.
Because I remember seeing snippets and you guys just looked tired. Like,
just dead, man. Like it was just like, because it was 14 hours from San Fran and we had like a massive stop over there, but it was like the middle of the day. So we didn't sleep, and then like flew to Texas in like the middle of the night, and then Texas to Buenos Aires in like the same thing, like early morning. And then like, ended up being that we got like 4 hours sleep on like the San Fran flight. And then from that, it was just like caffeine and zombie land. And then we pulled up in Santa Rosa really late on like roughly about 9 o'clock on like the 22nd or something, and got picked up at the airport. And then we drove a couple of hours out to the lodge. And so the place that we're hunting is called Katina Safaris. And it was just, I don't know even if incredible is the right word. Breathtaking, maybe? I don't know. Like, you pull up, and the first thing, we were just like, so we'd barely eaten enough food because, like, just plain food was shit and we were just zombies. And we pulled up and we're like, do you reckon they'll, like, give us, just like a sandwich, like, just before we, like, go to bed because we're, like, starving. We're going to get up early and go hunting the next day. We rock up, and all the staff had waited for us when we got there at like 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 at night. And we sat down and had one of the best 3-course meals I've like ever had. They had like, first I had this like, I think it was like a wild game soup first. And then they did like the full Argentinian barbecue. We had like homemade snacks, homemade rissoles, but then literally like half a rack of lamb cooked over the fire in the lodge. So like the lodge is just like, maybe 20 meters long. You've got a massive 16-seater table in the center of it. And one end is like a massive cooking area, almost like a big dome that they like cook inside, so you can like watch it and stuff. And then, like just lining the walls is just like some of the biggest red stags you've like ever seen. Like, it's crazy. And there's just like, because they offer hunts for like mouflon, black buck, axis deer, fallow deer or chital deer, fallow deer. So it was like just insane. And then I can't remember what we had for dessert, but I can guarantee it was unreal. Like, I've told people, so pretty much this is like, if I had to eat food for the rest of my life from a period of time, it would be that 5 days without a shadow of a doubt. Like even if Christmas went for 5 days, it wouldn't touch the meals that we ate there. Cause like the chefs, he was just, his name was actually Matthias too.
There you go.
Must be the name.
Be a good egg, good chef.
He was he was bringing out stuff, and I was like, I don't want to eat this. And like, it just got to the point that you're just like, look, just eat it and try it, because it's like, he'd been like I hate nuts. And he's like, here's this like something nut, something or whatever, or like wine glazed pear with something or like whatever. And you're like, this is gonna be shit. And you'd eat it, and you're like, man, this is like the best thing I've ever eaten. All the time. Like, every time we ate something, it was just like, I couldn't believe it. And anyway, so that night we rolled in, pretty much like threw the bags in, and then stayed. They've got like a heap of different like lodges and like actual accommodation stuff. So Nick and I met. So we were there with Brandon Lilly.
Is it the same Brandon Lilly that's like well-known power lifter?
Yeah. So
cool.
Massive dude. One of the most interesting people I've ever met.
I can imagine.
So like, he's like a poet trapped in the world's strongest man's body, where like on one hand, I reckon he could just snap your neck and kill you, and then on the other hand, he just like hold you and caress you like a child. Like he's just like the nicest, scariest, biggest bloke you've ever met, and just like absolutely. Oh.
When I saw his name, I was like, surely it can't be the same dude, because it's literally a guy I've like followed and listened to for years. Not really followed closely, I guess, but I listened to him on many podcasts and stuff. Like, being that my background is in health and fitness, Brendan Lilly's name was always coming up. Like when it came to powerlifting, when it came to squat, deadlift, press, it was always Brendan Lilly. Like he always had something to say. Yeah, super interesting. I was like, maybe, I don't know, because I looked at his I looked at his page. I'm like, fuck, I think it actually is. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
cool.
Well, so Nick, Nick was really good mates with him through like meeting him a couple of expos and stuff, and then he shoots Nexus and I was cutting stuff, and so he was there, and like I can't wait to go and hang out with him again. Like just a proper dude, like just a great bloke, and it was really exciting. Like we had a great camp, and then so they had like Nico and Matty were the two bosses of Katina Safari, so we got to hang out with them a heap too. Same thing, like just absolute weapons. Like, I mean, the fact that they waited until 11 o'clock at night for us to all have dinner together, I'm like, I literally said to him when I was there, I'm like, if this was on the other end, I would have eaten at 7 o'clock. I'm like, I don't even care if you think I'm a bad bloke. I can like wholeheartedly, like, I'm not going to lie to you here. Like,
no, exactly.
I can confidently say I would have at least eaten the entree. Like, or at least had 2 meals. I don't know. But I'm like, there is no way in hell I would have waited. If the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't have waited until 11 o'clock for you guys. And I'm like, it just shows the quality of men that you guys are compared to me. God damn. Like, but yeah, so I think the next morning anyway, so they've got a heap of guides there. So we went out with Gustavo, who was our guide. So that was really cool because he like actually lives and works there. So like he has like really good knowledge of the actual like land and layout and stuff. And like, so they're talking about like specific stags before we even, get there, like, oh, this, and this. So like we got out there, started filming. The first morning what did we end up doing? Yeah. So we pretty much, like I said, we went out there. There was a big stag that he had in mind for us to go and have a look at that he'd like seen in an area. Because he'd been guiding the week before and they saw, I think it was a big like 7.7 or 7.8 or something like that. But I think the thing that's just different from our stags here is not only the length, but like they're not necessarily like a heap of points, right? But the thing that's different from ours over here is just like the length and the mass. Like there are stags, like, I mean, I'm not a huge dude. I'm like 6 foot. So I'd say I'm average nowadays. But yeah, there were stags that like you hold your hand like above your waist, almost at belly button height. And that was like where their antlers like came up to, like in absurd, like, and so, and just the other thing is like the mass, like like compared to a lot of the places that you see here in Australia, like the shitters over there are like the best that you're going to shoot here in a lot of places. Yeah. And I know because I hunted a lot of shit places in Australia too. So, but yeah, like we went out the first morning and like the plan was just to sort of like, obviously day one, like just to sort of see what was out there. We like pulled up, nothing, moved a couple of Ks up, heard, like 8 stags screaming at each other, got out and you just sort of like start moving in. And the hard thing about it is there's actually so many deer there. Like it's sort of hard to maneuver because like you're constantly pushing hinds here and like, oh, there's just a satellite, whatever. And so what we end up doing was we end up getting in, like you'd go, like it's really just to describe the landscape. It's like tussock to mid shin. And then there's like these weird trees that are probably like, it gives you like a really thick, closely packed together that give you like from just say your head height down to the tussocks, you can actually see through, right? But then everything above that is sort of like a little lollipop. Yeah, and like every 5 meters in every direction, there's a tree, right? And so like all the time, you just be walking through and all of a sudden you hear like, and you'd be like, what the? And you'd look like 40 meters to your right and there's a stag roaring that you hadn't seen. Like,
insane.
Just because it's so like, it's so weirdly openly thick.
Yeah.
And so many times we'd be walking through and like a stag would see, like you'd be like, oh, like you'd see them at the same time that they'd seen you. But because it's like they're just getting a flash through the timber, they're like, oh, it might be a hind. And so you get these stags like inquisitively, but like walking in and like checking you out and stuff all the time. Hind calls over there were dynamite, especially on the satellites and stuff. And same with roaring, like everything, like you just roar and they roar back to you.
Yeah.
Just there's so much commotion. But yeah, like that first morning we went out, saw a heap of nice stags, like a heap of like nice 5.5, 6.6s. The best stag we saw that morning was like a super heavy, would have been like probably 45 plus long, but just like crazy thick, like just like even, yeah, just like I put a video up of him on my Instagram. We didn't get insanely close. We probably got to like within 200 because we'd put up, it was so funny. We'd put up a mob of wild pigs. And so Nick was like, first morning, like Nick's like, man, I'm going to shoot one of these boars. And so we were trying to chase the pigs rather than chasing the reds. And we're like in this nest of reds. Because as you can imagine, it'd be like a big red who you could tell was like the dominant one because he'd be doing like the like guttural roars. I know I might be blown out. I might be blown out.
No, you did well. It also kind of like sketchily cut out a little bit at that perfect time, so it was all right.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, so yeah, like he'll be doing guttural roars, whereas like a lot of the little stags be like, just like off to the side. And so you'd get into these like rut fests where the big one's holding the girls and you're like trying to crawl in and edge your way into him. But then there'd be like 5 to 6, 7, 8 plus 10 sometimes like stags all from like spikies up just like around just say 30 or 40 hinds. And so you're trying to like piece your way in. And that's the thing. Like, I mean, even if you just haven't like, I think the thing that I loved about it was whether you've got no experience as a bow hunter and you just want to like really like get super. So Brandon, for example, had never hunted reds. Went over there and like just had day after day after day of just like literally every hunt, 3 shot opportunities, heaps of interactions and everything like that. Like, and that was the thing. Like he was at the start was like looking, I guess, for a bigger stag and then like settled to trying to shoot a red stag, but he was also using a recurve. Yeah. So like it's not like whereas Nick and I could have confidently shot like a great red we only hunted him. Oh, you'll find out. But we only hunted him for like a day and a half because he got it done the second morning. But yeah, like he like we easily could have shot one or more like each hunt and like good like better reds than what you're going to see in Australia. It's just that like you go over there and so you're sort of looking for that like next level sort of red, and that's like I guess what we're looking for. But yeah, ended up scaring that 6.6 because he had like a heap of girls and stuff, and the girls saw us and we were trying to get like follow up the pigs. And then middle of the day we were sort of a bit wrecked, so we're like, oh, because by the time we went to bed, like we got to bed because we were meeting the people at like 2 and got up at like 5 to go hunting after like not sleeping of 3 days, like 2 days of like flying and jet lag and shit. And so we went back, lunch, like another incredible feed, and then went out for the arvo and same thing. Like we just went to a different area, got in on some really nice stags. Nick passed up a big 7.7, I think. It like walked past at like 30. Had like another heap of young deer. But yeah, just like nothing that sort of really caught our eye. And yeah, so went out the next morning, and then we literally dropped Brandon off because we went in like Brandon and his guide went one way and we were going to drive like another couple of Ks down. And I think like it's just like you can hear when you're in camp and stuff, like when you walk from like their main lodge to like the actual bedding and accommodation and stuff, you can hear like the reds roaring, which for me was like so like you go outside. I mean, like that's the thing. You can whatever you ask for there. Like I was like craving chocolate one day. I'm like, can you make chocolate mousse? And he's like, yeah, bro. And so Matty Matthias is hooking up with some chocolate mousse, which was great. But you like go outside in the dark and you're just like sitting there like having a coffee or having a beer or whatever you want. Like there's so much grub that's stupid. Not that we drank, but it's like you had to say no. You had to be like, guys. Like I had one Jim Beam after Nick shot his red and that was like it for me. But they were like, oh, you want some wine? You want some beer? You want some scotch? You want some whiskey? And it's like, bro, like I don't drink. So it's like, it's not that I drink. Anyway, I drink a lot or I drink a lot or I drink none. And it's like, when I'm on hunting trips, especially filming trips, I'm not here to drink a lot. So it's like, but yeah, you sit out there and you like hear the reds roaring. So that was pretty cool. But on the second morning, we got out there and we dropped Brandon off, went another like 150 meters and literally like pulled up. And because you're like seeing deer, like stags and hinds everywhere when you're like driving. And so you obviously like, it's sort of frustrating because you're like, I just want to get to where I know there's going to be like a big rut party or whatever, or like there's a heap of deer concentrated, because where we were hunting a lot, they just had like a burn in the last 2 years. And so the tussock was like a lot more lush there. Like you could really notice it, like a lot less fibrous dead material. And so the deer were just sort of like congregated in that. When I say it's an area, it's probably like, 15,000 Ks rather than like the other 20,000 Ks. Like we barely scratched the surface on this place, and we would have seen the first day, if we wouldn't have seen at least 25 to 30 red stags. Yeah, wow. Like if not like a couple of hundred reds. Like it's just stupid. And then, so we pulled up the second day, and here's this big 8-8 literally sitting off to the side, just like drinking at a dam. And we're just like, you're fucking kidding me, aren't you? And anyway, so we got out of the car. We told the guide, Gustavo, like, just stay here, because he cut off like out into the open, into like the tussocks, which was sort of like weird. And anyway, so me and Nick are like going there, and we're sort of discussing, we're like, what do we do? And we sort of like let out a roar, and then we because there's so many deer roaring around you, like one roared about 500 meters away, and we're like, I think that's him. Like I think he's covered a fair bit of ground. So Nick and I are like, imagine me trying to film this. Nick and I are like sprinting across the sand dune tussock flats. And because it's very like, you go up a dune that's only like 8 meters in elevation, but you can only see to the next one that's like 40. So you're like sprint up a dune, pop over in case he's like accidentally right there, not there, sprint down it, sprint up the next one. So me and Nick like, heart's like a million miles an hour. And we're like squeezing out like trying to hind call this thing back. And anyway, so because he was like roaring back to us regularly. So when we were probably 500-600 away, we were roaring, and then we dropped off the roars, picked up the hind calls. We're sprinting in. And then we got to a point where we'd sort of like come into a bit of bush, right? And Nick sort of turned to me. He's like, what do you reckon? And I'm like, because he was like, he'd gone up this little rise, and it was about 200 meters in front of us. And he's like, he roared back at us there. And then I can't remember if I let out a hind call or he let out a hind call. And all of a sudden he like roared back. And I'm like, we were like 20 meters off this massive tree with a heap of deadfall and stuff. I'm like, let's just jump in here. Admittedly, I said to Nick afterwards, I'm like, we probably could have chased him too. But I'm like, from a filming point of view, it's a lot easier for me to be like stationary and ready rather than like trying to like film on the go, if that makes sense. So 100%. I said to him, like, if we can like call him, it's going to be a lot better film than if I have to like run up, like, because I'm trying to like, that's what people don't realize. Like, it sort of sounds a bit cocky, but you have to be an exceptional, like, you can't, like, to film someone else hunting makes you become a lot better hunter, because you've got not only like read the body language of another animal, also you've got to like record Nick and Nick's or whoever, like Aiden or you've got to record the person while not getting caught, which means that you're like off to the side most of the time. You're moving when you shouldn't be moving. You're like, doing stuff when you clearly shouldn't be. And so like, essentially I was like, Nick, let's just hunker in here. And we let out a couple more hind calls, and all of a sudden I'm like, Nick, there he is. He's raking a tree at like 100. And so then he pretty much like came in on a string. He like walked in, stopped at like 33 meters, and he's like front on, just like roaring at us. Like, and I was like, Nick, because he walked from like 90 to 100, stopped, roared, because he's looking for this hind. We letting out some real proper honey that day. And anyway, he's like, where is this girl? And he's like roaring, like pissed off. And anyway, he ended up walking past, and Nick pumped him at like 15 meters, quartering on, ran like 30 meters in the back and dropped. So that was like a super quick hunt. And that was sort of the hard thing, because like we were there showcasing like red deer hunting, but really we were there for a day. Yeah. Saw like an unbelievable amount of deer. Next morning, in transition to where we wanted to go hunt, saw like this unbelievable stag, and then like got it done. So it's like, obviously I'll showcase like a heap of red deer hunting, but it's like, it was sort of, it wasn't really, if we'd slogged it out for 4 days, I mean, I don't know whether we Nick and I sort of discussed it afterwards, and like, whether we should have held off. But then it's like, when you see a deer of that quality and caliber, like if you see it on day one, it's not like, nah, bro, I'm going to slog it out for another 10 days. Before I'm not that type of guy. Yeah, definitely. I'm not an idiot. Like, I don't just pass up, like, when you get given a good opportunity. I mean, that's the thing. All the stags of that quality that we'd seen were holding like 30 does or 30 hinds, sorry. So it's like,
So insane.
yeah.
Just to even fathom that number, right? Like you think about the Australian numbers, and I've heard of people who said, yeah, I've seen 50 deer, 50 reds in a paddock or whatever. I think the most I've ever seen at one time is 13 kind of bunched together. I've seen lots of deer in one day, and they're spread out over the whole property, but to see that sort of numbers in one hit is just insane. And then to see that in multiple places all over the property, you're like, oh, that's why you're happy to go and pay for a hunt like that.
Oh, that's right. And I think the thing too is, like I said, whether you're chasing like a red deer of a lifetime or whether you're chasing like experience, I mean, they definitely they sell the whole package there. Like they sell, because it's not like you're going there for the hunting, but it's like the lodging is like 5-star. You know, the food is like
10-star.
Some of the best food I've ever. I said to Nick instantly as soon as we were done, I'm like, man, I'm going back next year. I'll be here next year. Like next year I'll have my boat. Like, I mean, I've filmed it now once for someone. I'm like, next year I'll actually be hunting it. Because I'm like, yeah, just like, it's just insane. And I mean, that's the thing. If I guess Nick and I sort of said like, we'd love to get more Australians over there just purely because like, it's just so untapped compared to like, other places.
You went in pretty much the height of the end of COVID in a sense, really, like 2022, right before. It was pretty much when the borders were kind of still a little bit sus as to if you could fly and whatever else.
Yeah, pretty much.
So obviously flights were still a little bit more expensive, but what does a trip like that kind of cost?
Well, so that's the thing. So I actually don't know entirely what I think. So realistically, I mean, I don't know what flight. Nick covered my flights to Argentina. I think they're like $1,500 or something.
Yeah.
But I think off the top of my head, for about a week of hunting, like everything from like what's it called? Like pick up to drop off to all that stuff. The only extra thing you'd have to pay for is like the taxidermy side.
Yeah.
I think it was about $7.5 US.
Wow. That's pretty good.
So yeah, I mean, the thing that for me was, it was like, if you wanted to do that anywhere else, firstly, for the caliber of reds, it'd be costing you a fair bit more. And I think the other thing is like I said, it's like not only the hunting, it's like the whole experience that you're paying for. Like when I went to Bulgaria, it pretty much cost me the same.
Yeah.
But I can say that the food and the lodging that I was at this time was like shitloads better.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the hunting experience and like opportunities you get, it was like very similar. But I mean, like if you wanted to go and hunt a red deer in Bulgaria, like some of the prices over there were like, you know, upwards of like 10 to 12 to 15,000 US for reds and stuff. And that's just like the trophy fee. That doesn't even include like the lodging and all the rest of it and the guide fee and all that stuff. So like when you put it into perspective like that, I'm like, it is a fair bit of money. And I'm not talking this is going to be somewhat like, you know, there's probably people out there that are quite well off that could do this hunt every year. But even if you were someone that just wanted to like really showcase and get some either experience, like fast track your learning on your local stuff of just like what red deer hinds sound like, and you know what you can get away with, you know, and obviously at the end get like a really great trophy and have like, because the thing is as well, he's like, to me, I'm coming back next year. He's like, bring your girlfriend if you want, because I was saying how it was her birthday, because they've got like stuff where like they've got like pools there, they've got like kayaks there, they've got like a big lake, they've got like hikes and shit, like they've got like a media room, like they can house, like if you wanted to do a big party sort of thing, like they've got stuff where they can do like families, and then they've got stuff where they can do like big groups of like, you know, if you wanted to play in
it'll be like the VB ads. All the Australian bow hunters over in Argentina.
Literally,
mate, what are you doing here? I had no idea.
But yeah, so it's like if you wanted to do all that stuff, like, you could plan like a big group. Like if you had I don't know, if there was a bow hunting club or whatever, like you could definitely, definitely go as like a group and all stay in the one lodge, or whether you want to bring your family and have like a different area. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then, so for the rest of the day, on day 2, we pretty much like took Nick's deer out, butchered it, caked it out, butchered it, all that stuff. And then, it was actually, Brandon actually had hit a stag that day too. And we went and looked for his, and sadly couldn't find it, which was pretty disappointing, because he thought it was like a real good shot. At like 20 meters odd, or 20, I think, no, it might have even been closer, it might have been like 18 or 16 or something. But his guide had called that in for him, and I think yeah, I don't know entirely what happened because obviously it was sort of hard to piece it all together. But yeah, I think he might have jumped the string and just sort of hit it a bit high.
Yeah.
Especially with the curve, like that's sort of the thing that comes to my mind, I guess. But yeah, that was the rest of that day. And then day 3 and 4 for us was really cool. As in Nick and I, we went out and hunted black buck, which I had never thought of hunting.
Yeah.
And they are now easy top 3 on the kill list for me. Like, it's just like so as someone who guides for chital deer, they're very similar characteristics.
Yeah.
Very similar landscape, as in the sense of you have fuck all cover.
Yeah.
They are very switched on animals, and their eyesight is second to none, and they are quite intelligent.
So we've got them in Australia, did you know?
Yeah, there is pockets here in Australia.
Yeah.
I know a few high fence operations and stuff.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard of two. I've heard of one place. It's like free range where there's a couple running around, but even then they're not meant to be there.
No, exactly. It's like they were introduced. I had no idea. When someone told me about them, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is not a thing. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh, it is a thing. Like, they're actually pretty much, you're meant to tell government if you find them because they're meant to be eradicated. But I think that's their whole outlook on a lot of deer, right? Like, they'd happily eradicate anything if they could.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, I was blown away when I saw that. So pretty much you would happily go overseas to hunt them?
Oh man, like I'd almost rather, like, the red deer hunting. Actually, no, that's a lie. The red deer hunting was too. I was going to say I'd go there and just hunt, but the red deer hunting was pretty insane too. So, but I think the thing that just fascinated me was because I do the chital guiding and they're very similar. All of a sudden, it was like they're putting my foundation, like methods and stuff, to the test.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah.
And so it was very new, like same old principles put into like a new species. And so that for me, that was like super fun. Nick and I climbed up early. Oh, another side thing was there was a big boar that was smashing. So a bull had died.
Yeah.
And so there was a big boar that was like smashing this carcass. So like every morning, so like that third day morning, it actually started. Nick and I went there, got there in the dark, sat there, a couple of young Eurasian Eurasian pigs come in. There was like, when I say, like, they were piglet equivalent, but because they're so big, they're probably like 15 kilos.
So you're talking like the big Euro boars, like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So someone had driven past, it was like way off in the back block sort of thing. And someone had driven past it the day before and seen this monster boar off it. They had like a full body mount boar in the lodge. And the guide was like, it's easy as big as that, if not bigger. And like, I honestly had to pick Nick's jaw off the floor. Nick was like, man, lucky I shot my red yesterday, because if they told me this, I wouldn't be hunting reds anymore. I just didn't hunt the pigs. So yeah, anyway, that morning we went there, and you could see where it like moved and everything like that. But just, hadn't hit it. And then so we went up and actually got up on some elevation, because all the black buck are like around within just say a couple of k's of the lodge, similar characteristics to chital, but it's all like open plains. Like the grass is like as high as your shins, right? And so we got up on this hill, like the rolling sand dunes, and we're like looking out and glassing, and you're like, righto, there's some black buck, there's some black buck, there's some black buck. Where are the bucks at? What are they doing? Because they're rutting. And they run around. We only heard it once, but like, like it's pretty cool. But yeah, so we were like, righto, there's like 2 bucks in a mob. So we went down after them. But the thing is, because of the topography, like me and Nick are like, we're like 2 k's away with a spotting black buck. Then you like drive down there and then you park up like just like 400 meters away, and you're like, righto, I jump in this ditch. But then all of a sudden, like, you don't realize, you think like the little ditches, it's just, essentially, like once you get there, it's very different from what you imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
And like the lay of the land of what you thought was like a tiny little divot is a 20 meter wide divot, and something that you didn't even see is like, like a 3 meter depression or whatever that you didn't even pay attention to because you can't really see it. And so we ended up getting in on them just as they moved off. They bedded up in a spot. And I think the biggest thing that I took away from it was trying to find. They're very switched on. They spend way too much time to successfully hunt them like in the open.
Yeah.
Like they're on open salt pans. And there'll be like 15 on an open salt pan. You're like, well, let's go find some different black buck. Like, Or like, yeah, so that was the big thing. And they don't bed. They didn't, I mean, my experience is very limited, but they didn't bed for very long. Like they'd bed for like 20 minutes, get up, feed 500 meters away, and then bed again. But the difference is like if that's in the time that you're moving down to like get to them, like because we'd go try and get in on a mob, they'd like move, we'd like try and find them and stuff. And then like a couple of times they would like see us. And I think the other thing too was I'm jumping from tree to tree here, but
that's fine.
I think the other thing too was because it was the rut, it actually made it more difficult because you're like, righto, there's a buck. And then he'd chase a doe out of the group. I'm assuming they're does, like way off the flat. 2 spikies would follow, and all of a sudden you've spent like an hour getting into position, crawling across like, oh, that is the other thing with Argentina. Oh, they have the worst prickles for everything that I love about them. They have the worst thorns of any country I've ever been to. Like the worst, like fucked, like so fucked, like just make your eyes water thinking about it bad. Like just, I can't stress enough how much I would have loved, I don't even know, like a fucking lead suit.
You had
I don't know.
one wish in this world, it would be to get rid of the prickles.
Oh man, just, yeah. Like just, I don't even know how, like, because you spend so much time crawling for these bastards. They love the open. So you're like, oh, right, I'll just get down and use 2 bushes of cover and crawl for 500 meters. And then by the time you get there, they just move. And their eyesight's insane, but they do give you a second chance, which is quite nice. But I wouldn't back on it. Like often we were just like trying to use the lay of the land, like, righto, cut it. Like, and sometimes like, righto, if we have to run around here 500 meters, it's better than crawling 50 meters.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then that will put us into within this, and then we'll crawl from here and stuff. And so we got in on like over day 3 and 4, pretty much had the routine of like check the boar, or check the dead bull for a boar. Didn't come in, see like other younger pigs. Like we're seeing a lot of pigs, but just not the boar that we wanted. And then hunt black buck all day, which was great because I don't know, it was just like they were constantly like it's like on black bucks all the time. But like I said, because it was a rut, they were just moving around so much. And realistically, I think a few things I took away from it was like find them in a spot where you could like get in on them and like really concentrate on that, or like or try and hunt them. Like we were saying to them like, oh, is there black buck down here? And like, nah. And then we were like, when we were driving out like 5 Ks from the lodge, we passed like 2 bucks that were like just bedded in like the longest grass in like this real deep depression. It's like if we'd found you yesterday, you would have been so dead. Like, because it's like you just pop over a rise at 20 and they're like there. You know what I mean? So it's like just very different. Like it's just sort of just finding them in a spot where you can actually get to them rather than like trying to create something from very low odds would be like what I took away from it.
What sort of size are they? Like how big an animal are we talking? Like a fallow?
They're so small.
Yes.
No, like so small, like a greyhound. Like a greyhound.
Yeah, got you. Yeah,
like it's pretty. Yeah, they're tiny. Like I think we looked it up because I thought they were bigger, and Nick's like, nah, man, they're tiny. And I think like a big buck is like 45 to 50 kilos, and then obviously a doe's like 30 to 35.
Like with everything in them, like bone, everything.
Oh yeah, that's like that's a whole unit. Yeah. So like super small. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but just like speedy as like just like constantly like boom, 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 boom. Like you may as well just sit in one spot and be like, see ya. So
males weigh 20 to 57 kilos or 44 to 126 pounds with an average of 38 kilos, 84 pounds. Females are lighter, weighing 20 to 33 kilos or 44 to 73 pounds or an average weight of 27 kilos, so 60 pounds. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so tiny, like literally greyhounds.
Yeah. And then 35 to 75 centimeter ringed horns is there. Yeah. So it's actually horns, it's not an antler.
Nah, horns. Yeah, horns. So really, really interesting animal and definitely got the bug. So
yeah, there you go. So they're actually the antelope family.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. So it explains why they're so fast and zoomy around the place.
Oh, I imagine them very similar to what it would be like actually hunting antelope in the US.
Yeah, wow.
Like just like that, just constantly moving. Like you see one, you run in, you're trying to use the lay of the land, like don't really have a lot. Really good eyesight, just sort of, yeah. So it was super challenging, but also like super from someone, like I said, that's like used to hunting chital, which is like super switched on animal, very low cover. I mean, we hunt them like my tactic was pretty much the same as what we do chital deer. Like it's like find them in the middle of the day bedded. But the issue with them is like they bed and the grass, even if they're like bucks, they just like disappear in the grass.
Yeah.
So like you sort of got to find them, watch them bed, but then they get up all the time too. So like, even if you see one, there's probably like 10 there. So it's sort of like my tactic and the tactic that got us in. Like we got into a heap of does and stuff, but often the bucks would just like get up and chase a doe away, or like they'd just be too far. Like we got into a couple of does within bow range and stuff like for the 2 days, but it was just, the bucks were like really moving and everything. But yeah, just like stalking and bedded is what the tactic that we use. I mean, you can definitely try and intercept them.
Yeah.
But yeah, sort of getting in when they're bedded and their senses are dulled. Certainly was the tactic that we were employing and getting good results with.
Dude, that's cool. It's super crazy to think about. Like, it's awesome that hunting does apply to hunting, right? Like that's obviously a cool feature that we have. And spending time in the bush is always going to be somewhat relevant to doing your next hunt. But it is pretty cool to kind of think, okay, well, there's literally a whole nother world of species out there for us to go and hunt if you want to look outside of Australia.
Oh, I can't wait. Like I've got been talking too much. My throat's about to break. I'm going to cough and fit.
Sorry about that, guys. Co-host is still working it out.
I do this every time. It's so pathetic.
And you're a talker too. It's not like this is your first fucking rodeo.
I feel like the shittest co-host ever. I'm just going to slip that in.
I always thought that Aiden was the more outgoing one until I actually met you. And then I realized like you were always the loudest one of the two. You're the one that did the talking for both you guys.
Nah, he's super quiet and reserved.
Yeah, I know.
Really cute, polite kid.
What happened to you?
Didn't fall. But yeah, no, we, I can't even think what I was saying. Oh yeah, well that's the thing. Like at the end of this year, I'm super keen to go and hunt. Actually, this is the thing. This is a shout out to anyone out there from Australia or really even Montana or the US. If you listen to this podcast and you drew in Montana, like a general tag, please hit me up on Instagram because I drew deer and elk in Montana, just a general tag, and I'm super keen to go over there, but I don't know anyone going over there.
I might actually have a hookup for you. Like, are you talking about this year?
This year, I'll be spending probably, it just depends with work, but honestly, I'd love to spend like a month and a half. It might end up being only a couple of weeks, but yeah, definitely keen to head to the US. And I think just off jumping back to what you were saying about like just applying your knowledge and stuff, like I think hunting elk is going to be very similar to hunting reds here in Australia. Like, yeah, just big country, sort of not super high density, not super high vocalization. Like you catch them on the right day and they could be going off, and then the next day you're in that valley and you're like, is there even a deer in here? Like, you know, but yeah, so I'm pretty stoked to go and just experience that. And just, I think the thing that really draws me is just the public land over there, like just having endless space.
It just seems like incredible, right? Like the endless experiences that they have.
Like between them and New Zealand, like the amount of public land and stuff that is just absurd. I really want to get back to New Zealand this year as well.
Yeah.
And I don't really care to hunt, chase it, tar or chamois. So
I think that's definitely probably close on my list. Like there's a lot of stuff I want to do in Australia, but New Zealand, every bit of footage I see of New Zealand just makes me hungrier to get over there. Oh,
it's just even like I told me and my girlfriend are actually just going to go over and do like a trip, really like a holiday trip, like a hiking trip.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're not going to take my bow. And I'm like, no. And she's like, everyone I'm told that we might be going over, because I'm just like, for me, because my work's so like just fickle, it's just like, it's quite hard organizing things. And that's why the guiding stuff, organizing that's quite difficult too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm like, I really would love to go. And everyone I've spoken about it and told them that I'd love to go to New Zealand with her is like, and you're not taking the bow. And I'm like, I'm not taking the bow. Like, no. I'm like, I reckon I'll take a rod, because we do a fair bit of fishing together and stuff. And she really enjoyed that. And she does enjoy the hunting, but the hunting's just very different level to like trout fishing.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. So I just checked up my contact. He's actually going to Arizona. Sorry.
Righto.
But I've got some friends in America. Actually, I don't know if you heard one of the podcasts I did. And he was from Boise, Cam. I'll ask him tomorrow. I'm on a call with him tomorrow. So I'll ask him if he knows much about Montana. I'm sure he will.
Man, I just want to know about the bears and how much bear spray and pistols I need to carry before. Am I going to get eaten?
It's that opens up a whole new can of worms, right? Like that different level of safety compared to what we have here.
Oh, for sure. We'll do another podcast. That's like another. We'll keep doing rut because that's the thing. Like that was like I just described Argentina, which was like a week,
and then you went on to
like not even
hunt as soon as you got back, right? Like pretty much you have month on month off of work essentially, and so you were able to go for your 5-day trip over there and come back and go wild.
Yeah, so this is another thing. So I do pretty much contract work. So I spent like 3.5 months away on a boat. So I got back like Christmas Day. I actually haven't worked since Christmas Day.
There you go.
In terms of like actual like veterinary work. All I've been doing is guiding, video editing a lot of, and then hunting and filming. So it's been
going to remember how to do it.
It's been quite good. I've got a heap of content, and that's why partially Twin Elements. Like I was saying, like Aiden's nest egg was relentless, but a lot of the stuff that like pretty much everything that you're going to see in the next like 6 months, or everything really in the next 2 years that you probably see is going to be me editing it.
Yeah.
Because Aiden's just been at uni and just hasn't got the time. So
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so we jumped off. It was 2 days travel back home and got off the plane. I think it was like ended up being like the 1st of April. And I pretty much got in the car, packed, and then drove and went hunting with Jackie Moon, Jack Crick. So the place that he hunts on, he was kind enough to say, hey, if you want to come, there's a spot. So I'm really thankful to him and his dad Lee as well. Mm-hmm. So I went there, and it was actually too wet, so we couldn't drive in. So I ended up packing a backpack and walking in, and it wasn't far. I think it was like 5 or 6K just on flat dirt, so it wasn't too bad. But we didn't know sort of how long we were going to have to, because we were meant to get more rain, whether we were going to be able to actually drive in and stuff. So that was a bit interesting. But they have like a little shed there that we could sort of camp out of. So it was unreal because it's like a really special spot. Arguably one of the better spots. It's probably one of the best spots I've hunted in Australia, but arguably even one of the best spots in Australia just for hunting, like diversity. Like they've got reds, fallow, goats, and pigs there.
This is the one that you put the video up where you literally got to the top of the mountain. There's like literally every animal right within 30 meters of you. Is that
it wasn't every animal. There was like a heap of pigs and a heap of goats. Yeah.
I thought there was a deer up there too. There you go.
No, that was pretty fucking high. Reds do get up there, but not, there was a lot of animals up there. There was it's just like this one bench that's like, I want to say like 250 meters long by like 100 meters wide. And everything just like gets up there, and it was notorious. Like I just it's when I lost my release aid. And so I'd just gone up there to shoot some goats, and I knew that there was going to be a boar up there. It's just like, you like bust your ass. Like if you want to get up there, you can't drive up there. So it's like, I guess I've just got that theory where if you want something old and big and worth it, they're not like in the front paddock eating sorghum. I mean, they're in the front paddock eating sorghum at the farmer's house, but like in terms of reds and everything like that, like, and fallow, like they're in that dark hidden gully where you have to walk up a massive mountain to get into this hidden tiny basin. And that's where he camps out the whole rut. Or in my case, it was like, bust ass up this hill to get to the very top and, hopefully find a boar. And I did find a boar. It was a cracking boar. And I couldn't get my release aid to work. So I ended up wounding him, which will not work. That's not the right. I fluffed it. He was fighting with another boar, got into like 10 meters in the tussocks because it was right on dark, anchored and had it like pinned on him and was just like trying to actually shoot. And couldn't get the thumb release to go off because I'm used to like shooting a hinge. And and then they like stopped fighting. He obviously saw me because I was 10 meters away. He ran out to like 25 and then, went to shoot and then I just took too long to shoot. So like as I've shot, he's taken a step, and just like hit him too far back, and then.
So was this a back tension release?
So I was shooting at thumb release.
Yeah.
And I'd use a hinge, like a back tension. No, a hinge, which is different to a back tension.
Yeah. And so this was a thumb release, did you say?
Yeah.
So isn't it as simple as just pressing the button?
Yeah, it is. But it's just like, it's also like I'd had a heap of shots with it, but imagine like someone, like it's sort of like, imagine someone that uses a normal wrist release and then giving them a thumb and go and shoot a thumb.
Oh,
like
so this is the first time you'd actually used it. You hadn't used it previous to this.
Oh God, no! I'd never used a thumb release.
You missed that part, yeah.
Yeah, no. So that's the whole thing. So I use a hinge, and that morning I'd lost that hinge. No one had a release aid, and I used to shoot like the classic. I don't know what, the trigger one. Like I don't know what it's called, but because I'm used to anchoring with my hand rather than being like horizontal, vertically.
Yeah.
Using a trigger was like the most foreign thing to me in the world now. And I've got a hinge for like 4 years, maybe now, or 5. And people would like think it's the weirdest thing in the world, but it's just like, it's worked for me for so long. And I like people think like, oh, shot sequence, like, oh, it's not practical in hunting sense. Like, it's like, if I need to drop the hammer on that hinge in like a second, I can drop the hammer on that hinge. But it's like, equally, if you've only got like half a second to shoot, like really should you be shooting? Like, you know what I mean? So for me, I've loved it. It's never been an issue. It helps me shoot better than what I ever could with the trigger, and so hence I use it. But yeah, lost it, jumped onto a thumb, which I'd never used before, and I was like I'm a better hunter than I am bloody shot. And got in on this boar, and then was trying to like shoot. I was trying to shoot it like a hinge, where you can't see this video, but like normally with a hinge, I just like let go of my thumb and just like roll it back. Yeah. And I'm trying to do that with the thumb, where I like kept it there and then just sort of kept putting pressure and just like pull it into my thumb, if that made sense, like almost like squeeze it in. And I'd actually done that. Like I'd formed a fist and it didn't go off because I had my thumb in the wrong spot. And hence that's why I didn't go off the first time. And then like when I went to shoot it the second time, I fluffed it. It took too long because I was like actively trying to like get it right. Yeah. But I'll jump back before that. So like the first day when we were hunting reds, I actually followed Jack around, and we went into, we had like from camp, we could hear 2 reds roaring, which is like pretty good, really. Actually hearing them. Oh, it might have been out here 3. I can't remember, but we jumped up on a ridge and ran up and went and chased one. He ended up being like a young 5-7, I think. And then we came back and had like a really nice, it was actually pretty interesting. So it ended up being the stag that I shot. We hind called in and he was like coming into us, and all of a sudden he had like this tiny little depression he had to go across at like 60. I'm sitting behind Jack filming, and I don't know if the wind just switched or whether he like got to a point where he could see, and then just because we couldn't see him, we saw him cross, like come over the ridge. He had like a little gully to go through, and then we just like lost him, didn't hear him, didn't see him, all this. I mean, he could have been standing there listening, which we stood there for like half an hour and he didn't appear again anywhere. So whether he got like a whiff as he was coming up the rise at like 50 or 40 or whatever, I'm not sure, but that was pretty much it. And then I can't remember what we did that Arvo, but essentially for me, like I'd only shot one red previously, and it was like a 4x4. I'd say a mature animal, but nothing like special.
That was the one up here in Queensland, right?
Yeah, that was the one that you ate. Yeah. But he was an all right deer. But nothing like it was probably a 4-year-old, like just starting to get mature, like 4-year-old deer sort of thing. And I shot that on a property where they're trying to improve the genetics. I shot him as a cull essentially. I was super stoked with him, like he's a trophy in my mind for sure. And so I hadn't really hunted reds much since. That was a couple of years ago. And I guess I still, just at the stage that I'm at with my hunting now, I don't really want to just sort of kill anything. I sort of want to kill something that's
decent,
a bit more mature, and not that it sort of justifies the work that you put in to it, but generally like the challenge of it, I guess.
It offers a whole, like it puts a whole new layer on it.
Plus, for sure.
Plus then you're taking actually an older animal, and I guess if you're looking at it from a conservation point, that is the better way to go about it, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like just sort of, managing the resource. But I was seeing in the first 2 days, I saw a heap of young deer and like getting in on young stuff, but just wasn't really finding that sort of, yeah, like, and good stags, like 5.7s and 6.6s and 6.7s and all the rest of it, but just sort of like, just starting to hit like 2 to 3 years old, like low 30 inches long, like real thin, but sort of just, like you could tell they were young.
Yeah.
And all were heaps better. That's sort of the funny thing, like all were heaps better because the genetics down there are heaps good. That's a terrible sentence.
Good English.
Good English. The genetics down there are a lot better. So yeah, but the quality of the animals that you're seeing are heaps better. But on the third day in the morning, we found a couple of young stags. Jack had actually shot his nice red with the recurve on the second day.
Huge.
Oh, cracking, like absolute monster, like real long, real heavy.
Yeah.
Really beautiful animal. And so he said, "Hey, I'll come with you." We got in on 2 young deer, but I'd been there the night before, and I'd got in on a heap of young stuff, and I was actually really fortunate enough to see. It's so disappointing because it was like after dark, but I got in on 2 reds fighting, and so it was insane. Like, so I sort of skipped over that, but I heard a roar from camp, ran up the ridge. He roared again, and he moved across the face of the ridge 500. By the time I'd got to there, he'd roared again, another like K from there. So I'm like chasing this stag like, across the hills, like up and down gullies. He roars again as I'm like coming up the hill because I'm like sprinting. I'm like, and that's the thing. Like me and my old man, we have sort of discussion all the time because Dad's starting to get over the other side of the hill, and fitness is sort of, I'm going to say dropping or lacking. And it's like, yes, fitness doesn't guarantee you or get you animals, but fitness certainly puts you in more scenarios.
Definitely. Yeah.
Where, it's like diving. Like if I can't dive 30 meters, it just means that I can only dive 10. Well, it just means that I see a cool fish at 15. I can't shoot it. I mean, like I went hunting with him the other day, and I'm like, well, how long do you reckon it could take you to get up this hill? And he said, honestly, probably 30 minutes. I'm like, well, I reckon I could do it in about 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's not me boasting that I'm like heaps fitter than him. It's just definitely. That I just spent like the last month and a half in the mountains. So I was carrying like 15 to 20 kilos worth of camera gear in my backpack at any stage during the day. So like I was very mountain fit. I couldn't do that now, but I mean, like it certainly, what I'm trying to say is like fitness isn't the be all and end all, but it certainly helps. Yeah. And so me having to chase this red stag for probably 2Ks plus across the mountain and then come up a ridge, he's roaring on the top. I come up slowly, and like there was a heap of like high reedy grass, which I was super lucky. Mm-hmm. Pop out almost like through that, and he was only young, like 6'6", like 20 meters in front of me, roaring with a couple of hinds. And anyway, he ran on the hinds, saw me, ran off down the ridge, and they're like 200 meters away now, roaring. And I'm talking to my brother on the phone. I'm like, man, this is sick. Like, so great here. Like, blah, 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 catching up. Because I hadn't really spoken to him that much. Because in Argentina, we didn't have good service. Didn't have good service when I was like on this hunting spot. And I found it up on this hill. And I'm sitting here, and it's like just getting dark. And I'm like facing the other direction, like talking, blah, 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 like from where I've come from. Turn around, and I'm in this like over my head high grass. Here's this stag, a different stag, walking up to me, right? And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to go hang up on him, put an arrow on, kneel down. And it was this super heavy, but real short. Like it would have been just over 30 inches short. And in hindsight, probably should have shot him because with the mass that he had, he might have been like an old stag going back, but he was only a 5'5". And so, yeah, he ended up walking in, like feeding, like he'd take 2 steps, lift his head, look around, take 2 steps, lift, and he ended up walking into like 10 meters doing that. And like, I could have pumped him like through the front easily at anywhere from 15 to 10. Ended up seeing me kneeling in the grass, and then he took off, and then he ran down to the other stag. All of a sudden, those two lock up and start fighting. So I'm like, fuck. So I can't sprint down there, and I've got my bow in hand, and then I'm like, I've run like 40 meters. I'm like, you're an idiot. So I run back up the hill, throw my bow down, go and get my camera, run down there. And then like I'm trying to film and stuff, but I'm trying to film in settings. And if people know cameras, like with the ISO and stuff, like you put it up super high and it just ruins it. And so I'm trying to film in like shutter speed settings, according to my frame rate, according to, like everything like that. And I'm trying not to blow it out. And what I should have done from the start is like just blow it out. So at least I could have got some usable footage. Yeah, because definitely. I look back at it and it's all shit. Like you can barely even see that they're red deer because there was no moon, no stars, heap of cloud cover. And you can see them like fighting and stuff, but it's not really like, but for me, I'm standing like 5 meters off these deer and these things are like smashing into each other. And then they're sitting there like, and one of them was like super vocal, which was like the best part about it. Cause all of a sudden he'd be like, and like squeal. Like it was the funniest thing ever. Like I just kept laughing because he'd be like, like, and I'm like, if you're standing opposite ridge, you'd be like, there is some dumb bloke over there that does not know what that is. And like, and I'm sitting like 5 meters off these two stags, just scrapping their guts out. And I sat off them for like 20 minutes. Like they were just like, they'd stand there and just and just like, then lock up for like, nothing at all, like 10 to 15 seconds. And then like shuffle around and stuff. But in the meantime, yeah, old squealy boy it was the young 6'6". He would let out a couple of squeals. And yeah, and then I pretty much, the moment that I realized that I had to go was I was standing there and they like G'd up and did a couple of big swings around. And all of a sudden I was like, honestly, a foot from these, like 3 feet, like I was going to say a meter, like 3 foot off where the back end of one of these stags were. And I was like, righto, time for me to go. Like, I was like, that's close enough. Like,
ticket.
Oh, literally like no word of a lie. Could have extended my hand out and leaned forward and patted its ass.
Yeah, wow.
Like, and I was like, okay, time to go. Like I'm holding like a new camera that I just bought that is like $7,500. So I'm like, it's time for me to leave. And then, and yeah, so that was just an awesome experience. And then, yeah, the next morning is when I lost my release aid. We'd been out and seen some young stags, and Jack, like I said, Jack was with me. And then, yeah, ended up seeing pretty nice 6'6", because when those two were fighting on the ridge, there was one further down calling. Mm-hmm. And so we went back to the same spot. And yeah, ended up getting eyes on him. And yeah, he was a pretty nice 6'6", but he ended up just like literally roaring his way off the mountain, like completely just changed from like one side to the other in the middle of the day, like just looking for girls.
Yeah, wow.
And somehow in the midst of that, I lost my release aid. And then that arvo, so I jumped on from a hinge to a thumb. That arvo went up chasing just goats and pigs and stuff, just a bit of confidence. And then, yeah, what did I do? I can't remember what I did. Oh, that next morning, same thing, like just finding a heap of young stuff. Like, and I was starting to get a bit less confident just after what happened with the boar.
Yeah, definitely.
I was quite confident the days leading up to it, just because I was like getting every day, like I could have shot pretty much all the red stags, like every hunt I was shooting, I could have shot like a young, like I'm talking less than 30. Mm-hmm. Easy, less, like most of them were like 30 to 20, taking photos, taking video of them. But they were all just young. And then when I lost my release age and sort of wounded that boar, the confidence did drop a bit. And then that next morning I went back looking for that in the area of that 6'6", ended up finding him, and he had about 8 hinds. And I'm trying to like creep in. And the thing is, he hadn't made any noise prior to first light. Like when I hunt the rut, I like getting to a vantage point or a glassing knob super early. And when I mean super early it was getting light at 5, and generally I was trying to be at my spot by like it was getting light at 5:30, and I was trying to get there by like 4:15 to 4:30.
Yeah.
And that's just because hearing one roar is like, for me, it's like, I mean, they could be moving, but at least it gives you like a direction.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially like this place has obviously sounded quite action packed from what I'm describing, but like I said, it's an insanely good property. But even then, like there are whole ridges where like you could be like, even, yeah, you just left scratching your head. Mm-hmm. Like, and so just hearing a roar and knowing, okay, he's probably just tucked up in that gully is like so much help. And yeah, so I'd got there early and I was way off and he hadn't made any noise. And then all of a sudden at like first light, I just heard like some really light, like just moans.
Little checkers,
like,
yeah.
What? I'm like, and I've heard a lot of young stags do that. And I mean, I've heard old stags do that too. So I was trying to figure out what it was. And I was like, look, I'm just going to bust ass and get up there. And by the time I crossed the valley and got up there, the thermals were sort of like, it was like, yeah, like 6:30, and I could see that the sun was hitting the top of the mountain. I was coming up from the bottom, and they were like the classic 3/4 to 4/5 of the way up. Mm-hmm. And so he had the hinds tucked up under a tree and a couple of satellites around, and so he was like half groaning at them, sort of saying, "If you come close, I'm going to eat you." And he had like one specific hot one that he was like sitting off. I sort of, in hindsight, should have got level with him and came in level with him, like regardless of the thermals. But I tried coming up under, which I just know is like not what you do.
Yeah.
But I just, with the cover that was like, it sounds like a very dumb decision now, but it's just like sort of the cover.
You're just taking the best option, even though it might not have been the best, obviously.
Oh, like it was just a shit scenario, really.
Yeah.
Because like it was sort of where they were was super thick, and then where I was just like all open around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for like 80, like if I was shooting, like if I had a rifle, he would have been dead. Like 20 times over. But I couldn't come in from I was on the right sort of bottom corner. They were sort of straight up above me. To come in on their level on the right side of him was like all open to like 100 to the bushes that like the couple of clumps of trees that they're under. So I ended up cutting like back around and left, and then try to sort of cut in. Like if he's in the center of a clock, try to cut in at like 8 on the clock. So sort of like a bit under him, because the thermals were like at the shadow level was like at his height. End up like, because all his girls also were sitting like they'd moved out and started feeding above him. So I couldn't like come in from above. The two satellites were swinging below him, and then he was like in this bush. Whether I should have just like backed out and then found him again, I don't know. Yeah, they moved. I don't know. It's just, anyway, so I ended up getting in there. I got to 30 meters off him and just like couldn't get a shot through the trees. And I was on one side, ended up getting into that where he was. I was on one side of this thicket. He was on the other side. I could just see him running back and forth and stuff. And like, what ended up happening is both satellites ended up walking to within 5 meters of me, because we were on the underside.
Jesus.
And both of them winded me, took off, and then the hinds sort of got a bit iffy, and then they've taken off. And then I just literally lost them. Like I didn't know where they went. And then, went back to camp real sad and with my confidence getting a bit hurt.
It's funny how quick they can disappear, right? For such a big animal, they can just be gone.
Big, glowing, white-assed red things that are like the size of a wing, like on big wiener, like the size of a hand. And man, like half the time you like look in the bush and you're like, what the fuck? There's nothing there. And then they take like 2 steps into your sun, and you're like, how did I ever miss that? Like, but yeah, that I'd seen a heap when I was actually walking in. There's this tiny little ridge, and I'd glassed and not hunted the way in, but sort of glassed the way in, and seen a heap of hinds there without stags. Like it was so strange. And if anyone has input on this, like flick me a message or something on Instagram. But I'd found like 4 different mobs of like 3 to 4 hinds with yearlings and stuff, but no stags with any of them. And my interpretation of that was like there was a stag, because normally even with that type of thing, there was like stags that you'd expect satellites and stuff with them, or spikers or young stags. Like it's during the rut. Like we're talking like the 4th of April. So, some people have said maybe they'd been serviced already,
That's
but
what
I mean,
was thinking just then.
But still you get young, dumb stags being
around them. Yeah.
Hey baby, like, what are you doing? You're a female. Come, can I just lick your ear? Like, so, but I think what was happening was, so I was like, look, I'm going to go, because we could drive in from that stage. I'm going to go there. And they were in like this super face that you could like, actually, they were under a heap of lollipop trees and stuff. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit, like you're about 1.5 k's off. I'm like, I'm going to glass that place and see if I can find them bedded up early. And then if I can, I'll like get in on the stag if he's worth it, then sort of thing. So I got there and sat down, and I'm starting to find hinds. This is maybe like 4 in the hour, and it's getting dark at like 6:30, something like that. And then
let's just pause 2 seconds. I need to get my dog inside. She's going mental. Give me 2 seconds. I'll get her, and then we'll continue.
Righto.
There we go. Sorry about that.
That's all good. Yeah, so I ended up going to this spot in the arbor. Yeah, like 4 o'clock was getting dark at like 6:30, and straight away, glassing, and from the car, like we were probably a K and a bit off the actual ridge, but you could just like see them bedded. And so I just found a couple of mobs of hinds, same thing, like no stags with them. But all of a sudden, I just saw this like super nice stag walking across the ridge. And I was hunting with a guy called Cozzy, who's an absolute legend in that camp, and he actually hasn't shot a red deer before. And so I turned to him and said, hey, like, do you want to go for this stag? But I said, you've just got like, I'm like, we've got to run up this hill, because he's like walking to the girls, and I'm like we've got to cut him off, sort of thing, before he gets there. And I'm like, because he's either going to cut to the girls or cut over into the next ridge, because he was sort of like he was on one mountain walking towards the next mountain where the girls were. And he's like, nah, man, like he'd shot a massive crack and buck that morning. And he's like, look, I'm so stoked. He's like, you haven't got anything yet. He's like, you go for it. And I'm like, righto. So I literally like take a massive swig of my water and put my head torch in my pocket, grab my bow, and he reckons it was so funny because like the grass, because we've had such good rain in New South Wales, the grass is like in some spots as high as your nips.
Yeah.
And I'm sprinting like a bloody gemsbok or whatever it is, like over the grass, like jumping like a dog, just like sprinting across this flat. And he reckons it was like afterwards, he's like, man, I wish I had a video of that, because I was pissing myself. But yeah, so I'm like sprinting across the grass, get to the base of this hill, and pretty much just like, not running, but like a pretty like power walking up this mountain pretty hard, like to the point, like, yeah, you're pushing up hard. And that was just purely because, like I said, I realized time that was of the essence, not on like a light of shooting light time, but like firstly finding him. We'd seen him from quite a distance away. He was moving, like the longer the time goes, the less chance of me finding him again. So I got to the top of this ridge where there was like a big bench. And anyway, I was like, I'm like, he should cross this bench that joins to that mountain where the hinds are if he's coming this way. Or he's taken, like, instead of going left, he's taken a right across this bench, and he's like dropping into the next gully system where there's also a heap of reds. And so anyway, I'm like standing there looking, nothing. All of a sudden I like pop up over this little rise, and I just caught his ass at like probably 400 meters, like walking off the bench the other direction. Like he's gone right rather than going left to the girl. So I'm like, okay, I need to cover some ground again. I'm sweating bullets at this stage. And so I'm like, I sprint across the flat, same thing, got to like the other side, right? And then pop up over the rise, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, and this bench is like, rather than being 500 meters, is like 200 meters. And I'm like, okay, I should have covered enough ground. I'm like sucking them in. And I'm like, okay, where is this stag? And anyway, I'm looking around, can't find him, let out a roar, nothing, right? Just like a real pissy, like localizing roar. It's not great. I find it's not great to like roar where they've just come from, because it's just like, bro, I just walked through there. Like I didn't see a red. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Anyway, nothing. Then ended up doing, I went up a bit higher on the rise, and I'm like, okay, he must have gone off this flat already. And so I've taken 10 steps running across this open flat. And I look, and here he is raking up the grass, like on the other side of the flat, talking about like not seeing him. He's on the other side of this flat, like 200 meters away. Like, and he was just in this tiny depression. And I think because he had his head down, he was raking grass.
Yeah.
Right. And I like saw him, and I was like, how the fuck did he not see me? Like, anyway, so as soon as I saw him, I like got down, and he was sort of on the lower left-hand side. I was up a bit higher on the right. And he stopped raking the grass and started walking up. And then as it sort of, the gully sort of moved up into the head, between it was like a really thick band of like low trees. There was probably about 50 meters wide. And I'm like, what I need to do is, the wind was sucking real well up the gully, which was like weird, notoriously weird for that Arvo. I'm like, I'll sprint up to this head, like around these trees, and I'll start coming, because I knew the trees like ended about 150 up. I'm like, I'll start using the trees for cover and start cutting down the ridge as he like walks up, and I should, intercept him. So I've done that, literally like get to the top side of this trees, and in the trees, I just see this like red mass, like moving up the thing, see him like raking some grass. And I'm like, oh, this is like, and I'm coming down off the top, very silhouetted, like amongst those trees and stuff. And I'm like, at least I've got cover. Like I had one tree, I felt very chill hunterish, because I'm like, I've got one tree to like, that's all I got. And I'm like, if I can get to that, it's like 30. So I start coming down the ridge, and then off to my right, there's like a salt lick, a natural salt lick. And I looked there, and this is the pain in the ass thing that had happened. Here's like 12 hinds, right, are all on this salt lick, which are like 70 meters away, just sitting there. And he's like 40 meters from them. So he's walking back up to them. So what he'd done is, he'd been with these girls all day at like 4 o'clock in the Arvo, left them to do this big march, like looking for more girls, like just scenting up the area really. and then he's come back onto his girls like at last light.
Yeah, far out.
Right. And so I'm trying to like all of a sudden, instead of me just cutting down the hill very much in the open on like a straight angle with this stag, I'm like now at a different angle with no cover. There's 10 reds like 70 meters away from me across this gully. And I'm like, okay, I'm fucked here. So he joined up with the girls. They started like slowly moving in. I gave one like real pissy roar to try and maybe instigate something, or a couple of hind calls first, but he's like, bro, I've got 12 girls. I don't need you. And then I was like, righto, I'm like close enough that maybe I might be able to get like a response. By this stage, the next hill over, another stag had started roaring too. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like he was sort of really, like it was really interesting. Like I'm trying not to ruin your speakers here again, but the young stag was going like, oh, like real aggressive, right? Whereas the old boy who had like, I ended up getting a look at the other one. He was like a young 5'6", had one hind and one yearling, right? And she wasn't in season or anything. He was just, they were just like feeding next to each other, really. He was going off like every 20 seconds, right? And talking about like moaning. This old boy who ended up being the one that I shot, who was a 6'8", he would literally just be like, oh. Every 15 roars that the young one would do, he'd just be like, oh. Just to be like, if you come here, I will flog the shit out of you.
Yeah,
like,
so interesting. Huh?
And so, yeah, they ended up like feeding up into the head. My wind was sort of going that way. And so I just like stopped and let him like move up. And then the next morning, I was like, I'm going to, I'm going to be there like super early. And got there like at 4:30. Like I said, it was getting light at like 5:30. And we sort of, because the wind was like cutting down, I didn't know where they were. I sort of was like a bit back before it like drops into the gully. I was sort of like sitting up there and I could hear them roaring. So I'm like, okay, I'll start moving in. And then I could hear one roaring straight across the gully from me, super aggressively, and one over the hill from that too, right? And I was like, righto. Ended up waiting for first light, and I was with Cozzy again. And anyway, the sun came up, and here's this stag from last night, like the same night. And the same stag, he's on an open bench with no girls, nothing. And I look at Cozzy and I'm like, man, do you want to go for this stag? And he's like, it was the one you stalked last night. He's like, similar thing. He's like, and I'm like, you sure? And he's like, yeah, man, like you go for a stalk with him. And I'm like, mate, you don't have to tell me twice. Like I'm gone. So I said, are you right to stay here? He's like, yep. So I pretty much flew like the gully between us, to describe it. He was on across literally level with us, right? The gully was 100 meters deep either side. On my side was real thick vegetation. On the other side was a pure rock screed that looked like New Zealand. Yeah. Right? But real big boulders, like a real weird. So I sprinted. I took my backpack off, sprinted down, had my boots on, climbed up, and I'm climbing up these rocks like a fucking leprechaun, jumping from like rock to rock to rock to rock. And I get up to like the level, and he was roaring fairly well. And I pretty much just dived because I knew we had no hinds. Like the bench was probably 180 meters long, 200 meters long by like 100 meters wide. And he's in smack in the middle of it. So I dive into the first clump of like trees. They're like real short trees, not like dogwood, but just maybe I don't know. But anyway, this first clump of trees, get in there, let out a couple like hind calls, like loosely, not that close together. And he's roaring his guts out back to me, like replying. And he's looking at me and stuff, but he's at probably 80 on this open bench and like will not come to me. So we sat there for like 10 minutes and I'm tossing up. I'm like, what do I do? I'd hind call loose, like I'd hind call, throw out my sweetest hind call. And he'd just sit there and roar, hind call, roar, hind call, roar. I'd like leave it a bit. He'd roar, I'd hind call. And I'm like, righto. And I'm like, so where he was standing, raking the ground in the center of this flat. And there was a tiny little bench, like a difference of a meter, just say, right, between us. And on that bench, there was a tree, a lollipop tree, the size of like, it was like 30 centimeters high, right? Like this tiny little shrub, right? But it was just on the bench, like between us. Mm-hmm. And I was like, if I can get there, I'm like, that will be like 30, I thought, right? But I'm like, I didn't want to do it because I'm like 75 or 80 away from now. I'm like, I don't want to be like, you hear about it all the time where it's like, nothing happens. And then with calling animals, it's like, he knows that there's something there that he wants. And all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm going to just go and walk to it. Yeah. You know, and like after 10 minutes of nothing, he just strolls in and I'm like in no man's land. And I'm like, look, I got to take the risk. The wind was howling down the gully with the thermals. So I pretty much go, righto, it's now or never. I got to move as quick as possible. So I literally ran into about 45, 50, just like got down super low. He was raking the ground. As soon as when he had his head up, I could see like the top of the line of his back and his head. But as soon as he put his head down, all I could see was like the top line of his back. So ran in there and ended up like once I was about 10 meters away from my little lollipop shrub, the wind died out. So then every time he would roar, I would like take a step and then he'd roar and then I'd take a step. And then like it ended up being that I got to this lollipop tree, ranged him, and he was like pretty much by that stage he stopped raking the ground because I'd stopped hind calling obviously, and he was just feeding. And it ended up being like 35 meters. And I was like, look, I'm going to draw, because with the thumb and stuff from the day before, I'm going to draw back. If I don't feel comfortable, I'm like, I won't shoot him. And I'm like, I'll wait for him to like get off the flat into the thicker stuff. And then I'll like follow him up and get him in there. Like, anyway, so yeah, drew back and then like held the pin for probably, honestly, maybe like 20 seconds on his, just so comfy, you know? And then, I was like, okay. And then just like went through like my shot sequence. And this time like I had my sort of thumb, like just cause I had so much time, like consciously had my thumb in the right spot. And anyway, he had his head down and then, so shot him broadside at like 35 meters, like literally punched him through the center of the lungs. He ran like 30 meters and then like toppled over.
And he's a beauty as well, right? Like,
it was like stonker, like absolutely. Yeah. So I was like over the moon. And I think the big thing for me was just like the confidence that like I was getting so many opportunities. And I, to be honest, it's like quite a weird thing where like I spend so much time behind the camera and sort of like what I was saying before, like it definitely keeps your hunting skills sharp and even improves them because you get to experience so much hunting, but you're not the one holding the bow.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was like the first time I'd held the bow in my hand in quite a while. And I was actually a bit nervous going into it. And I sort of had in the back of my mind, it's like, can you still do this? Like,
I think I think that misfire as well, like that is such a chink out of your armor when you.
Oh, for sure. Like
that's horrible feeling.
And then I mean, ended up like got him. Like I mean, I was having all the opportunities and stuff. Like so, I was confident in my hunting abilities. But I was just like wasn't really finding the old boys. And then like I found one, and like I said, just like sort of stuffed it with the bad choice and everything. And the day before, and then the next day, like. Sort of, and then I don't know, like it all worked out for him and I was pretty stoked. And then, came back up to Queensland and then shot my PB Chittle, which will be a story for another time, but it was sort of like, it's like I can still hunt, I guess.
It's funny because the interview I did just before you was Brett Meldrum, and he had a very similar experience this rut where he just put down multiple animals, but it didn't come without years and years of hard work and labor to lead into this rut. As for you, right? Same sort of situation. And like you just said, you spend hours behind the camera hunting, and it's a different type of hunting, but still hours in the bush. And I think we talked about it when we caught up earlier in the year. We had a little barbecue catch up at Dog and Gun, and you were saying how you'd probably only put 3 animals down, but you'd spent more time in the bush in the last year than you ever had in your whole life.
For sure.
But it's because it was you behind the camera. And it's just, I think it's funny. I heard it so much when I first got into hunting. I understood it, but I was also like, I just don't have that much time in the bush. But it's just truth, right? The more time you spend in the bush, the more smiles you get to see, the more experience you get in general.
Oh, definitely. Like, I think the thing with, like, you can't, like, nothing, you can certainly quicken and like your learning curve and stuff like that. But like hours in the bush is just, it pays dividends. And I mean, even if you're in like a low density place or you haven't got much luck, like there are what I call like give me hunts or give me animals that like you're just out there so much that eventually statistically, it's like, like statistically speaking, something you want to shoot will just walk past.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, if you're out there all the time hunting, even if there's like one boar on the place you want to shoot, eventually he will just walk past you because you're there. Like, you know what I mean? It might not be like how you pictured it. It might not be like, but there's so many times that I've just been like sitting eating a mandarin or whatever, a musical under a tree. And you like look up and you're like, oh, there's a fox at 30. Like just because you're there, you know what I mean? Like he's just doing his daily thing. You know what I mean? Like same with everything. So I think, but I mean, for me, it was just more of a, I don't know, like last year between guiding and I counted up and it was like, I spent like over, I think it was like it was about 5 months in the bush filming or hunting.
So good.
Like last rut, I spent from like pretty much a month straight filming. I literally hunted for a day and a half last rut. Whereas this rut, I was like, I'm going to prioritize myself. I mean, that me prioritizing myself and not filming was 4 days.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
So yeah, but I mean, definitely next rut, Aiden and I have already, like, we've got 2 fellow films due to come out, and then obviously Nick in Argentina as well. So we've got a fair bit of rut content. But yeah, like, still want to keep that coming to everyone, but we're super driven about that sort of pathway, I guess, with Twin Elements, but also just trying to make sure we do get a bit of hunting in for ourselves.
Keep the passion and purpose going in that realm as well.
Yeah, I think just more
blow out the purpose of it, right?
Oh, for sure. But it's more just like, but don't get me wrong. Like, I'd rather see, especially I guess now with chitlin stuff and everything, like I'd rather see someone else shoot a chitle even bigger than what I've shot than me shoot it. Like, because it's sort of like, and I guess that's why I love the black buck hunting so much, because it was the same principles, new animal.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, so I was like, holy shit, this is like so familiar, but so new all at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
Just remove the prickles and be fine. But yeah, so I don't know. I've got, not to say that I've got like hunts booked in, but certainly the second half of this year, I definitely want to get a heap of content out for Twin Elements, but equally do a bit of hunting for myself. So I'm super keen for what's to come. So
that's amazing, mate. So I think it's a good place to wrap up. I have to go cook some dinner for the family anyway, but you've got so many platforms that people can reach you on. If people want to come hunting with you at Spotted Safaris, if people would like to watch your stuff, it's on Twin Elements. And if they would like to just watch your content in general, the general beautiful stuff you put out, it's James Doumtsis Outdoors, right?
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Yeah, like, and that's the thing, Aiden and I actively, I mean, if you message on Spotted Safaris, we're not checking that like daily and stuff, but definitely like Twin Elements and our personal page. Like, if I tell people all the time, like, if you're just getting into bow hunting or even hunting and you're thinking about it, and you want to hit me up, I'm always free to offer advice or tips and tricks and stuff like that. Like, it's pretty much, I mean, realistically, that's pretty much how we met, really.
Exactly right. I was going to say the amount of people that reach out to me and said, I've just been talking with James, or I've just been talking with Aiden, and they've given me this, and this tip. I'm like, I don't have much more to give you. I'm sorry. Like, they've already given it to you. But I don't know if, I'm pretty sure I did tell a story, but you reached out after listening to one of the podcasts, and you're like, dude, what the heck are you wearing that camo for? I've got this old camo. I don't wear it anymore. I'm going to send it to you. And you gave it to me. It was just like, that was game changer straight away. But yeah, it was just so amazing. You are very generous with your time when it comes to bow hunting.
Oh, it's just like, I wish there's so many things, like now, obviously, like I said, I spend so much time in the bush, and not to say that I'm, know even half as much as a lot of people out there, but like, I definitely think that I've got enough experience that I can be certainly helping like other people in some way. So, I mean, for me, it's just like, if I can quicken up someone else's learning curve or like increase someone's success, or, I thrive off that, because I can be a part of your story and be part of your hunt. And like, even though, I'm not there, I want to see that you go and get your first pig or your first goat or your first red, or, like even this podcast for me, I mean, realistically, it's a way that hopefully we can sort of share a bit of knowledge and get people like involved with the outdoors, because like we sort of spoke about last time, like the more people that I can show my passion and lifestyle and hobbies to, hopefully they'll get interested, and then, it just secures it more for generations to come. So
yeah, 100%, man. Well, dude, love your work. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode. This is one of the longest ones we've done in a long time. It's good. It's just good content.
There's plenty more to talk about, don't worry.
Exactly. Well, thanks for coming on, man. We'll have to have it back in a few months.
See you, man. Have a good one.
That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bow Hunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show, or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.